Hey everybody, my name's Austin Miller, coming to you from the Alliant Energy Ag Innovation Lab here with the Digital Ag Group at Iowa State. Today we're going to talk about one of the cool things that we can do with a set and seed to help reduce our variability from row to row across our planters before we get into the field. We can use a set and seed to reduce the variability because we commonly see a lot of these parts on our planters wearing from our gauge wheel arms to the mustaches to the disc blade openers. So once we have those parts start to wear, we no longer can use that same depth setting to get to 2 inches, as we're going to show today, that we would use commonly with brand new parts. No matter the color that we have with these units, and no matter how new or old, this concept still applies. We've seen many times units coming straight from the factory, seeing about a 1/4 inch of variability from row to row, just due to different tolerances that they have coming out of the factory. Right now it's January, it's cold outside, nobody wants to be working outside. This is one of those cool things that we can do in our heated shops in the off season to really help us get ready before the season starts, to ensure that on day one, when the weather is fit, we can really get out in the field and ensure that we're doing the best quality job we can on the first day. Today, to calibrate our row units behind us, we are going to use a set and seed to accomplish this. You can also go about building your own with some different wood and metal and materials that you may have lying around. So how does the set and seed actually work? So if you're somebody who maybe plants commonly at 2 inches depth, you get the base unit that has the steel in the center with the 2 sides that are black. That depth from the disc openers to the sides is going to be 1 inch depth. So in order to achieve that 2 inches for calibration, we will then want to add 2 of their 1/2 inch yellow blocks to each side, so that way we reach 2 inches depth. Now, for somebody who commonly plants beans with one planter and we want to actually calibrate maybe our row unit to 1.5 inches or 1 3/4 inches, they also offer a gray set that is actually by 1/4 inch increments that we can snap on as well. So then maybe now we want to be at 1 3/4 inches, we can snap those on and now we're set at 1 3/4 inches. That is one of the nice things about this versus a homemade one, is we're able to really switch in and out at different depths pretty easily. We can do this row unit calibration 2 different ways. The first way you can do this is by just simply setting your set and seed underneath your row unit and raising and lowering your planter onto it. The second way that we found that is really handy is to actually remove 2 of the bolts that hold the metal plate on the bottom of the set and seed on, and actually fasten a metal plate to the rear then that we can fasten to a floor jack. That allows us to keep the planter raised in the same position and raise the set and seed up to the planter unit versus raising and lowering the planter for every row. The first step in using our set and seed is ensuring that our row units are level. Whether we're doing this on the ground with the set and seed or with the floor jack, we still need to make sure that these row units are level when we are calibrating them. We can simply do this by ensuring that our planter is level at that state in which we are measuring those depths. If we're having that set and seed on the ground, we simply want to lower that planter all the way to the ground, hop up in the cab and level that planter with a level on the tongue of the planter, and raise and lower our 3-point to the point of which that bubble is in the center of the level. Now, if we're raising that planter up to use the floor jack, the same process applies. We set the rear of the bar, look at that level, and make sure that that bubble is in the center to make sure then that our planter row units are level when we are actually calibrating that row unit with the set and seed. So now we have the set and seed placed underneath our row unit to calibrate it. We've made sure that our row unit is level in this position. So now simply all we have to do to get it to that 2 inches of calibration, we'll grab the T-handle, lift up on it to the highest point of when there's resistance, and simply let it fall in. And then at that point, we now know that our row unit is calibrated to 2 inches. One of the things we really need to touch on though with using the jack is that also that the set and seed is touching the point of the disc openers that's actually engaging the soil, as well as making sure the set and seed is level when it's doing that. So an improper way of doing this is having the set and seed too far back. So here's a great example of it. I'm jacking up the set and seed, and as you can see, we're touching the disc blades, but on the very far back of them, not actually the point in which they're going to be engaging the soil. What that's going to do is give us an improper calibration of our row unit, probably making it deeper than it actually should be. How we can do this properly then is simply slide the set and seed further forward to the point in which our disc openers are actually engaging the soil. Lastly, we're going to jack that up to the point in which that set and seed is just tight to those disc openers, maybe a little bit of lift on our row unit. Then lastly, before we do it, we want to ensure that our set and seed is also level with the ground and the row units to make sure that we're getting a proper calibration. Lastly, we're going to grab our T-handle, push it up to a few resistance, and at that point, we are then calibrated at 2 inches. So when using a T-handle, for instance on this John Deere unit we have here, every single one of these notches showcases a 1/4 inch. So when we're setting it at 2 inches, we would expect it to be at a 4 and 4 depth. When I actually grab the T-handle on this new unit and push up, we can see that it's actually set to a 4 and 5. Now I didn't put a ton of pressure on that, so it shows then at this point we need to be a 1/2 inch deeper than normal. Now if I really grab the T-handle and push really hard, I can still actually get it to that 4 and 4. What that's probably showing me is that there's about that 1/4 inch of variability from row to row, even on a brand new unit. That's why using a set and seed is extremely important to ensure that our row units are calibrated from row to row. So as we've seen today, across this planter, we'll see a lot of variability row from row. That's simply because a planter is individual row units working together, not one whole entire row unit working as one. That's why using something like a set and seed is so important to ensure that we're doing a quality job in the field and actually making sure we're planting that seed at the depth that we want it to be in. You can also find many other little cool tips and tricks and tools on our website. That is r2r.ae.iastate.edu.